I found out my mother was wearing my high school uniform and sitting in my third period calculus class while I was locked in our basement, and that isn't even the most shocking part of this absolute nightmare. Imagine waking up to realize that the person you trust most in the world hasn't just stolen your identity, but is actively trying to live your life better than you ever could, all while dismantling your friendships and dating your crush behind your back. I am still shaking as I write this, wondering if I am the one who lost my mind or if she is truly as dangerous as she seems. Was I wrong for calling the police on my own mother? Or would you have done the same thing if you realized your entire life was being hijacked by the woman who gave it to you? This whole mess started about 6 months ago, right after my dad left. My mom, Elena, didn't handle the divorce well, but instead of the typical depression or anger, she developed this bizarre, obsessive fixation on staying young. At first, it was just sharing my clothes or using my skincare products, which I thought was a bit cringe but harmless. But Elena isn't like other moms. She's 38 but looks like she's 22, a fact she constantly reminded me of. I'm 17, a senior at Oak Ridge High, just trying to graduate and get to college, but she started looking at me not as a daughter, but as a rival. She began following me to the mall, mimicking my slang, and eventually, she started showing up at my school under the guise of bringing me lunch, lingering in the hallways and flirting with the senior boys. It was mortifying. She would stand by my locker, flipping her hair, waiting for my friends to notice her. It got so bad that people started calling us the twins, a compliment she thrived on while I felt my skin crawl. She started posting TikToks using my account, pretending to be me from behind, or using filters that blurred the age gap, until even I couldn't tell who was who in the thumbnails. She spent hours in front of the vanity mirror, pulling her skin back, practicing my specific laugh, the one that's a little too loud and ends in a snort. I caught her doing it once, and she didn't even look embarrassed. She just asked me if she got the pitch right. Then came the month of October, the month everything went completely dark. I caught a massive flu and was bedridden for a week. My mom was strangely supportive, bringing me heavy sleep tea every few hours. Looking back, I realize I wasn't just sick, I was being sedated. I would wake up in a haze at 4 p.m., seeing my school bag moved and my uniform missing from the hanger. When I asked her about it, she'd just laugh and say she washed it and put it away. But then I started getting texts from my best friend, Sarah, asking why I was being such a stuck-up brat at lunch. I told her I was homesick, and she sent back a photo of someone from behind, wearing my signature denim jacket and my favorite hair ribbon, sitting at our usual table. My heart stopped. I tried to get out of bed, but my legs felt like lead. That was the night she didn't bring me tea. She brought a lock for the outside of my bedroom door. She told me it was for my own protection because I was delirious, but I knew the truth. She was going to school as me. She had perfected my makeup, learned my schedule, and because we have the same eyes and hair, she was actually pulling it off. Every morning, I would hear the click of the lock from the outside. I was a prisoner in my own bedroom, surrounded by posters of bands I liked and books I was supposed to be studying. I watched through the window as she walked to my car, wearing my favorite sneakers, waving to the neighbors with a youthful energy I hadn't seen in her for years. She had spent hours studying my handwriting, practicing my signature on hundreds of sheets of paper I found later hidden under her mattress. While I was trapped, starving and confused, she was out there rewriting my reputation. She started picking fights with teachers I liked, and being overly flirtatious with guys I barely knew. She was essentially destroying the future I had worked so hard for. One afternoon, I managed to drag myself to the door and scream until my throat was raw. But she had turned the TV in the living room to full volume before she left. No one could hear me. I felt like I was being erased from existence. I started to wonder if she would ever let me out, or if she planned to keep me hidden forever while she graduated in my place, perhaps even going off to the college I had been accepted to. The psychological toll was unbearable. I began to have panic attacks, convinced that if I looked in a mirror, I wouldn't even see my own face anymore because she had claimed it so completely. I spent hours trying to unscrew the hinges of my door with a metal nail file I found in my nightstand, my hands bleeding and my head spinning from whatever she was putting in my food. I finally broke through the vent in the floor that led to the crawl space. I crawled through the dust and spiders, fueled by pure adrenaline and terror, until I reached the basement door, which was luckily unlocked from the inside. I didn't run away immediately. I went to her home office. There, I found a notebook filled with observations about my life, bullet points on how I walk, how I tilt my head when I'm nervous, and a detailed list of my secrets she'd pulled from my diary. She wasn't just being a cool mom. She was performing a total identity takeover. She had even forged a letter to the school board saying I had a medical condition that might cause temporary memory loss or personality shifts, just in case she slipped up or someone noticed she looked a little different. She had even recorded my voice on her phone, playing it back to herself to master my pitch. It was the most calculated, cold-blooded betrayal I could imagine. She had gone as far as to block my father's number on my phone and delete any incoming messages from him, making him think I was just being a typical moody teenager who didn't want to talk after the divorce. She was isolating me from everyone who could actually help. I found a hidden camera in my own room, placed high up in the corner of the bookshelf. She had been watching me while I slept, watching me struggle against the locked door, probably laughing at how easy it was to take over. My own mother was treating my life like a game of dress-up, where I was the discarded doll. I found bank statements showing she had been using my college fund to pay for Botox and fillers, making sure her teenaged look didn't fade under the harsh fluorescent lights of the high school hallways. She was literally eating my future to stay young. I felt a cold, hard knot of fury grow in my chest. This wasn't just a midlife crisis. This was an execution of my identity. So that is the level of insanity I was dealing with. I was trapped, drugged, and being replaced by my own mother in real time. Before I tell you how I crashed the school dance and exposed the most humiliating secret of her life, I want you to pause and comment below. What would you have done? Would you have tried to talk her down? Or would you have gone straight to the authorities like I was planning to do? I really need to know if I'm the villain for what happens next, because what I did next changed our lives forever. I waited until Friday, the night of the fall formal. I knew she was planning to go with Jackson as me. Jackson was the guy I'd had a crush on for 2 years, and the thought of her near him made my blood boil more than anything else. I managed to sneak out of the house while she was in the shower, getting ready. I saw her lay out my red silk dress, the one I'd saved for months to buy. I didn't go to the police yet because I knew she'd just lie her way out of it like she always did. She was a master manipulator. I needed a witness. I needed the whole town to see what a monster she was. I went to my grandmother's house to get a spare key and a backup dress she had bought me months ago that my mother didn't know about. My grandma was horrified when she saw the state I was in, pale, thin, and shaking, but I told her I had to do this alone. I showed up at the gym just as the music was peaking. The lights were low, the disco ball was spinning, and there in the center of the floor was me. She was wearing my dress, dancing with Jackson, her head on his shoulder. She looked horrifyingly happy, like she had finally achieved the life she thought she deserved. When I walked onto that floor, the music didn't stop, but the whispers did. People looked from me to her, then back to me. The confusion was instant. I walked right up to her, pulled the wig she was wearing, which was a perfect match for my hair but slightly too shiny under the gym lights, straight off her head, and yelled for everyone to look at the senior they'd been hanging out with. The gym went dead silent. Jackson backed away as if he'd been touched by a snake. My mother's face transformed from a youthful mask of joy into a twisted, aging snarl of pure, unhinged rage. She didn't even try to deny it at first. She actually tried to slap me, screaming that I was spoiling her moment, and that I was ungrateful for everything she'd done to keep our house running. The school resource officer had to step in and pin her arms behind her back. As they held her, she started laughing, a high, shrill sound that chilled everyone to the bone. She pointed at Jackson and told him he was too good for a brat, like me anyway. The sheer audacity of her trying to claim my boyfriend while being arrested was the final straw. It turned out she had stolen my social security card and was trying to withdraw my college savings to start over in a new town as a teenager. She had already contacted a realtor about selling our house without telling me. She had planned to leave me locked in that basement while she moved across the country to live out a do-over of her life. The police arrived, and as they let her out in handcuffs, she was still yelling that she was the better version of me, that I was a waste of a youth, and she was just reclaiming what was hers. The look in her eyes wasn't one of regret. It was pure, unadulterated envy. The aftermath has been a total blur of therapy and legal battles. My dad came back and moved me 2 states away to live with him. But the trauma doesn't just disappear. The school board had to go through all the grades she had earned while posing as me, which was a nightmare of paperwork. They almost made me repeat the entire semester, until my grandmother intervened with the medical records of the drugging. Jackson won't even look at me because he's so creeped out that he was kissing my mother, and honestly, I don't blame him. Every time I look in the mirror, I see her eyes, and I wonder if I'll end up like her. Sarah is still struggling to trust that it's actually me on the other end of the phone, always asking me security questions about our childhood just to be sure. The social circle I spent 4 years building is gone. I'm that girl whose mom went crazy, in every yearbook forever. My mom is currently in a psychiatric facility undergoing evaluation, but the letters she sends me are still addressed to her twin. She writes about how we should go on a trip when she gets out, how we can share a life. She details the skincare routines she's following in the ward, asking if I'm still using the moisturizer she likes. It's terrifying. I've realized that some people are so afraid of losing their youth that they are willing to devour the lives of the people they are supposed to protect. They see their children not as people, but as extensions of their own ego, as a second chance to fix their own mistakes. I still have nightmares about the click of that lock on my bedroom door. I have to sleep with the lights on because the dark reminds me of the crawl space. But I'm rebuilding. I'm finding out who I am when I'm not being mimicked or stifled. It's been a hard lesson in boundaries and the fact that biology doesn't always mean love. I lost my senior year, I lost my first love, and I lost the woman I thought was my mother. But I gained my freedom, and I finally have my own name back. No one will ever wear my clothes or live my life again. I hope this story serves as a reminder to always trust your gut, even when the person you're doubting is your own blood. If you think someone is gaslighting you or overstepping, don't wait until they've locked the door. Your life is yours and yours alone, and no one, not even the person who gave you life, has the right to take it from you. Like this video if you were on my side through this whole ordeal, and please subscribe for more stories like this. Share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. I'll be reading them to see if anyone else has ever dealt with a parent this obsessed, or if you've heard of anything this crazy happening in your town. Seriously, I need to know if this is a common thing, or if I'm just uniquely unlucky. I'll see you all in the next story.